GDP is a measure of value of new goods and services produced in the domestic economy during a particular time period. GDP only counts goods and services that are newly produced during a specific time period within countries' borders. Will used goods be counted towards GDP? No. Will goods which are produced in foreign countries be counted in GDP? No. Okay. So, for example, if you are calculating GDP for the year 2012, it should follow two characteristics. One, new production of goods must have taken place in that particular year. And two, that new production should have been taken place in country's border only. Okay. The question is that how can you calculate this GDP? Very simplistically, GDP is the value of new goods and services. How do you calculate value? You calculate value by calculating P into Q. Okay. The price is, P is the price per unit of Q. Okay. Now, Q is the amount of the quantity which is produced of new goods and services. Now, or newly produced goods and services. Now, let us take one simple example. Okay, suppose there are two goods, X and Y. There are 2 years, say 2010 and 2011. Okay, there are two goods, X and Y, and price and quantities of these goods are given. Price and quantities of these goods are given. Say, for example, the price for X in year 2010 is 7. And quantity produced is say 3000, and price of Y in year 2010 is say 2, and quantity produced is 3000 again. In 2011, price of X has increased to 9, while quantity produced has remained same, while price of Y has increased to 2.5, while quantity has fallen to 2000. Now, how do you calculate GDP? In year 2010, GDP is the value of good X plus value for good Y. For good X, how do you calculate value? P into Q, that is Px into Qx. For good Y, how do you calculate value? Py into Qy. So it is 7 into 3000 plus 2 into 3000, which will be 21,000 plus 6,000, which will be $27,000. In year 2011, this would be value of good X would be 9 into 3000 plus 2.5 into 2000. That would be 27,000 plus 5,000, which is 32,000. So this is the way you calculate GDP. Okay, so GDP for year 2010 is $27,000 and GDP for year 2011 is $32,000. Okay, in our next recordings we'll compare GDP with GNP. We'll go over to finding to find what is per capita GDP, and then in the last recording, we'll be talking about what is GDP at purchasing power parity.